Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Rim. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us two special guests. First, I want to introduce we have an author. She has a new book out called Creep This Way. I have Rebecca Cuthbert with us.
Hello.
Welcome to the Horror Rim.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You too, you too. And Rebecca, by the way, is also part of the Psychotoxin team.
Yes, I am. I'm the editor in chief of the feminist horror imprint. It's called Psychotoxin Pink.
And I love the guys over at Psychotoxin and gals. And I also have with us today Christopher Ryan. He is with Seamus and Nunzio Production. Christopher, welcome to the Horror Realm.
Hey, thanks for having me, Travis. Interesting show.
Thank you. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I'm trying to shine a spotlight on the indie horror scene. So
you recently put a really interesting spotlight on one of the scams, and I much appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool of you.
Thank you so much. That's what most people, when they see me in the street, that's my claim to fame, is the face of horror scene.
That's all right.
So, Rebecca, tell us a little bit about Creep This Way.
Okay, so when I told people about this, they were like, how are you going to do this in 3 months? So Chris contacted me in October and he was like, I have an idea for a book. Do you want to write it? And he told me his idea, and I'm actually going to let him talk about what that was. But I signed on, and we worked every day for 3 months to get this out. We're still working on it, but it's almost ready. But Chris, since the idea was yours, maybe you could explain it.
All right. Well, I met Rebecca through social media. A while ago, I got rid of all the other kind of social media pages and focused on building the horror community. And this Rebecca Cuthbert person kept showing up in the commentary with really interesting things to say. So I started following her, said hello, and all that sort of stuff. Eventually, I pitched her on another idea, or an earlier idea. I wanted to celebrate hybrid horror in all its versions. So I did 5 issues or 5 volumes of Soul Scream Anthologine, and this one,
nice,
which is generally called She's the One, has all female antagonists and features a hilarious and scary short story called The Quilting Circle of Bygone Gardens by one Rebecca Cuthbert. So that was the origin of our working relationship. And in October, as I always do, I'm reading her posts, and Rebecca has a great voice and a very approachable feel to her social media. So she said something, as Rebecca always does, just like in passing. And it hit me like a lightning bolt that she has a book in her. She has the book that I've been looking for in her. So I pitched her. I said, you could write a book about how to become a horror writer. Not, another book of, and this is how you write the outline, and this is how you write dialogue. Mm-hmm. That's not the book. I've got tons of them here, right?
Yes.
That's not the book I was looking for. I was looking for the book for, all right, sure, a little bit about writing and a little bit about trusting yourself and getting that done, but also how to believe beyond the doubts, to use one of Rebecca's chapter titles, or how to make friends on social media, how to force yourself to go to that first con, or that, and either sell your book or go up to people that you've been reading and say, hi,
yes.
How to pitch, how to embrace rejections, all the stuff that I had to learn the hard way. And so I pitched this nutty idea, and Rebecca said yes, and that was the shotgun at the starting gate. And let me tell you, Rebecca outpaced me from that second onward. And I'd get these messages, and it's like, all right, I started an outline. And, in the time it took me to write a response, she says, all right, here's a copy of the outline so far. And it's, 24 chapters and all that sort of stuff. And it continued. And my role from there was gentle editor. Rebecca writes very clean, very approachable, very friendly, in a very friendly style. And I would just have to say, well, maybe we can expand that. Should we mention this? And it was a very easy editing job. And it was, I gotta tell you, it was mostly Rebecca. So that's the origin of this idea. And it is the book about becoming a writer that I've been looking for decades.
That's absolutely amazing because I do agree. Like when it comes to books about being a writer or about being everything, it tells you just bits and pieces, but it doesn't tell you. I come from a marketing background, and
Right.
Rebecca and I have had discussions before. And one of the things I see, especially with indie writers and even indie filmmakers, is okay, we got this made. How do I get it out there? How do I get eyes on it? How do I? And that's that marketing, that salesmanship is
Right.
something that most indie creators are missing.
Right. And it cripples a lot of them,
Yes,
and it's the other side of the job, so Rebecca this is a great starter's guide, or even if you've been in for a while, because I've been in for a while and I learned stuff from her book as the chapters were coming in. I was like, that's how you do that, huh?
I feel like I should preface all this with all of it has been trial and error for me, and I'm very honest in the book that I'm still trying some of the things. I don't quite have it all figured out yet, but honestly, it has been the community, really. And I know that sounds kind of pandery, but it's the nicest community. Like
it is.
It is, tell you.
I only kind of started meeting people at StokerCon in 2022. And it was like I left there with, a dozen new friends. And from those friends, I met other people. I met Chris. And also, I'm near Buffalo, but Chris invited me to join the New York chapter of the Horror Writers Association. So they kind of adopt us like Western New Yorkers, because we don't have a Buffalo chapter.
Technically, it's a New York chapter, so
New York chapter. But it's just people have been so nice, and I think that the opportunities are all already there, but you do kind of have to push yourself to try them, or to take advantage of them, or to meet new people, to make new friends. And Travis, what you were saying about marketing, how marketing is so tough. I think that part of the reason marketing is tough for people is because when you're trying to introduce a book to the world, it doesn't help unless you introduce yourself too.
Right.
Like people want to know who wrote the book, like sort of a book floating in space, and I'm not saying you have to be an influencer, because I'm so far from an influencer, but I do think that you have to be approachable, and people have to know who is connected to this book, who is the voice of this book. So you can't hide behind a book and think that it's going to sell,
Travis, if I could just point out, that's exactly the voice that was that way. There you go. That's exactly the voice that I thought would be perfect for this book. That approachable, common sense, friendly. And if you follow Rebecca Cuthbert on social media, you'll get some of that. But then you'll get her passion for shelter dogs, or whatever she's cooking that day. So it really feels like you're stopping by a neighbor. And that's how Creep This Way reads. And that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want another book by another professor somewhere, although Rebecca is a professor. Uh, but you know the tone, right? The
Yes.
tone of, oh, wow, I'm never going to get to this person's level. But
Mhm.
Rebecca kind of pushes that to the side and says, come in. Do you want a cup of tea? Here's what I know. Does that help? I hope it helps you. And wow, just, I need to share that book with the world. And that's why I asked her to do it.
Now, and that's absolutely amazing. Now, I have a question. Now, do you think that most indie writers, horror writers, are introverts? And if so, how do you shake that? Because if you're, I mean, I can tell you I'm an introvert, and the way I shook it was, by taking public speaking classes, and that got me out of it. Now I'm doing YouTube channels and stuff.
Well, I would, this is going to sound like I'm a shill, but I would say read this book because she does encourage you in a very you can do it kind of way to take this step and the next step. One of the innovations of this book that Rebecca just said, here, how about if we do this, is she does her stuff, and then at the end she says, now you, and gives things to try. It's not exercises, it's not homework, it's try this. It's so encouraging. So especially if you're introvert, and I feel I'm very much an introvert. My family would laugh at that, but I'm the quietest one in my family. The kind of encouragement you get from Rebecca's Creep This Way, I've been at this a really long time, Travis, and I got new ideas and I got new encouragement in what she has to say. So it is a challenge for a lot of us. And I'm going to shut up and let Rebecca talk.
Well, so it took, because I'm a bit shy. I'm a bit introverted, and I like to spend a lot of time alone. I can take an hour drive and not even turn the radio on. I'm just kind of in my head all the time. But I did. So in March of 2022, I saw something about the Horror Writers Association online. And I asked my husband, Joel, like, should I apply to join this? And he was like, why not? And like a day or two later, my application was approved. And then I saw everybody talking about StokerCon. And I haven't had to make a new friend in like a decade. I don't know. Like, my oldest friend lives 2 streets away, So it was wild to think of, like, getting on an airplane, flying like actually across the country, to Colorado, and just go to a place I didn't know anybody. And it was incredible. It was awesome, but I almost didn't do it because it was terrifying. So I do think that you can't stay comfortable all the time if you want to try new things, because trying new things is not comfortable. It's almost the definition of trying new things. It's not going to be comfortable. You're not used to it. You don't know the people, but they were so welcoming and so nice.
That's amazing.
And so here I am.
Yeah. So. Travis, I was at Colorado and couldn't breathe in that higher altitude.
Yeah.
And it just really worked on my introvert tendencies. So I missed the opportunity to meet Rebecca Cuthbert there. I didn't get to meet her there.
Wow.
We probably crossed the path
Probably
a dozen times. I do remember beige, so it might have been her.
Travis, this is a joke because I love beige. I'm wearing an oatmeal colored sweater right now. I'll wear beige all day. Like, I'm not like a goth girl, like head to toe black with like, black fingernails. I'm like wearing cable sweaters and like loafers, but
yeah, but don't sleep on her. Her can get dark, and sudden, and with a turn that you didn't expect. Oh yeah, oh, yeah. There's a lot of things going on over there.
I would also say to shy people, and this is this is like mom's advice in kindergarten, but like just be yourself, people will like you, you'll make friends. What you don't want to do is try to be somebody else, because if you make a friend as a fake person, then you don't really have a friend, That's not your friend. That's a friend of some persona or like mask that you're wearing. So just be yourself, and then you don't have to like try to juggle like, oh, who am I supposed to be in this space, like just be your damn self, like, and then the friends you make will be your real friends.
I totally agree. And I go to a lot of horror conventions, and I always film, and for my channel I do a walkthrough, and one of the things I do is, if I see a lot of horror authors there, and some are outgoing. They're like, "Hey, come on over," and but there's some that are, you can tell that they're shy. And I come with my camera and I cut it off. I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if I give you a free plug and to talk about your book real quick?" And they're like, "Yeah, I don't know what to say." And I'm like, "Just talk about your book." And I get them on camera to talk about the book, and it kind of break them out of their shell. Mm-hmm. So I try to do that as much as possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do need that, like, encouragement to, and like by the second day in Denver, I was trying to pull people in because that was me the day before, so talking to people, like, just kind of say, "Oh, hey, come on over." If you see someone standing by themselves, like, that's the easiest thing in the world to do, is just like invite someone to come and hang out with the people you're hanging out with and introduce them. And that's what people did for me. So we just need to keep doing that for other people.
And I 100% agree. Now, do you think that there's a lot of indie horror writers who think they know everything and they're making crucial mistakes? Or unwilling to learn or take advice?
I think that the people who do have that outlook probably didn't make it far enough that we know who they are. Because I went to grad school with people like that. They knew everything. They didn't want to hear anyone else's thoughts in a workshop. They just thought that what they were doing was perfect as is, and, no notes, I'm great. And it's like, if you have that mentality, like, you're never going to learn more. So you're never going to write beyond the level you're writing at right now. And everybody wants to write better. Like, Stephen King is out there trying new things, So, like, if you don't believe it from me, then believe it from people like Stephen King,
The best I would wish for those kind of writers is to get to a level where you realize that you don't know what you don't know, because that'll tend to keep you open. I love learning. I mean, when I was editing Rebecca's book, just about every chapter there was a sentence somewhere that I hadn't had that thought. So, and there was something in King, to talk about Stephen King again. There was 2 lines that he wrote. I think it was in Holly or About Holly, and it was, it's, you're not doing this for the awards or the acclaim. You're doing the art for the art, and that kind of thing. And yeah, and the crazier the world gets, the more I believe make art. That's the answer. I think that's got to be the response. That I'm going to see all this, and instead of detracting from it, I'm going to contribute something. And I like to surround myself with people who do the same. Your show does that. Rebecca's work does that. And, God, that's an honor to be around.
Yes, and I absolutely love what I do. I mean, I love, because there are some great indie writers, filmmakers, actors, actresses, all that good stuff. That,
some of the people that you're bringing to a wider exposure, there's no way I would have met the maker, or I would have found out about the maker of Jason Goes to Indianapolis,
Exactly.
I mean, that's
Exactly.
Horror Realm does that.
Yes.
And there's so many people that just going through. It was only the last couple of days that I had a chance to go through this stuff, and you've got a fan now because you get fresh voices, and that's what we want to do. We want to build community.
Yes. And everybody needs a voice. I mean, I say that the horror genre there's so many categories in the horror genre. I don't like every part of horror genre, but there's people out there that are fans of it, and each one of them needs a voice.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to how wide open the space is, because I did worry a little bit at first, like that I wouldn't fit in, because I don't really write like splatter or extreme stuff. I tried one time and it turned into like a slapstick comedy.
I would love to read that one.
It's published in Miniskirt magazine. I tried to write a slasher story that took place in a flower shop, and it just got to be like this ridiculous slapstick, comedy, romance, horror situation. Like I just can't do extreme horror. But then I went and I met all of these people who I like gothic stuff and I like ghost stories, and I met people like that. There are so many subgenres within the horror world, that there's room for everybody, and you will find people who like what you like.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And I found out, you talk about splatterpunk. I did not even know what splatterpunk was until I started doing the show, beginning of the year. So I was like, wow, that's something that I didn't even know exists. And there's so much out there in the horror that, that it fits anybody's taste. There's movies out there that I've interviewed people and there's fans of mine who are not that big horror fans, and they're like, wow, I watched that movie that you recommend, and I actually think I like this form. I think I like found footage horror, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that in society people group horror into one category, and it's not. It's multiple.
Well, that's what Soul Scream Anthologine was all about, because there's horror is the most welcoming genre out there, and it will mix with almost everything, So the idea was to have a collection, and it wound up being 5 volumes. There'll be one more to kind of round it out. And it went everywhere from female antagonists to dark justice to, people with monstrous hearts to, let's see. Sci-fi, science runs amok, and all of it fits seamlessly with horror. There's over 30 authors, and each style fit in with the collective because horror is that welcoming. Mary San Giovanni, she's a great writer, and I was in a class that she was running, and she said, most of the best parts of literature are horror. And if you think about it, think of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Best parts of that, horror.
Yes.
And just go through it. Best parts are the scary parts, are the heartbreaking parts, are the parts where, if you think about it, it's horrific. We wanted to celebrate that, and God bless the community, because whatever's happening when they're writing, they get that whatever would push people away is taken, kind of dispensed in the writing, and they're much more welcoming. And it doesn't matter the particular subgenre. I mean, you go around cons and they could be slasher people, they could be like mystery horror, psychological horror, and there's a lot of, hey, how you doing? God, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, just thinking that, I wish that the word horror didn't scare people away.
Yeah.
Because like Chris said, you know, we can call these things other names if people want, right? Like, because right, you could tell someone, oh, I like gothic romantic thrillers. And they'd be like, okay, cool, you know? And it's like, okay, there, you know, like Chris said, the best parts of that are the ghosts. They're the haunted mansions. They're the woman running in the night from some unseen pursuer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's horror. But if you call it horror, a lot of people get afraid of it, you know?
Now you said gothic romantic
thriller.
And you could make an argument that would describe Dracula. That would describe Frankenstein.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. I love the gothic genre. It's so delicious.
Gothic.
Yes.
All right. So without giving away the book, because I want everybody to go and buy the book. So I have a lot of first-time writers who are fans of my subscribers or individuals who are thinking about writing their first novel.
Mm-hmm.
Give us one little nugget that most first-time writers, one mistake that they make.
Okay, mine is going to be, I think it is a mistake to take every rejection so personally that it ends up making you quit or, you know, discouraging you from trying again. Like that rejection should not be something that makes you stop. But I think that it is for a lot of people. They submit one or two things, they get a couple of rejections, and they just think, well, that's it, you know?
Yeah, they give in to the, I suck. You know, and Rebecca's chapter on that, Embrace the Rejections, really talks about and gives examples of how you can turn rejections into almost a positive. You know, it definitely excited me to read that chapter. The one I would mention is, again, I mentioned it earlier, but believe beyond the doubts. All of us suffer imposter syndrome, or the editor on the shoulder that's like, hey, you know, you suck. Just you should stop doing this, right? And to have the ability to just read a chapter that at least you realize, wow, I'm not the only one, because Rebecca's experienced this too, you know, and how in a very, again, I love the it's almost like you stop by and see a neighbor, or you bump into somebody at the mall. It's that kind of conversation. And it just comes across for me as more easily applied, you know, when you read it with something like that, as opposed to something that's a little more haughty, you know. So those two chapters for me stand out. I don't know about you, Travis, but I do get visitation from imposter syndrome, you know, fairly regularly, and it's really helpful to be able to just, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do, right? And you know, it's to know that it's everybody and everybody goes through this is very reassuring, and it helps diminish that problem.
Some great points. Great points. All right, so I'm going to toss you both a hardball question. You ready?
Okay.
It's an easy one, but it's hardball. Okay. Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. Okay. So you and Christopher have worked together. What is one characteristic about Christopher that you're like, boy, I wish I had that?
So what I want to be eventually, and I'm not there yet, but Chris is a good role model, is that he is not afraid to just start things, you know, like he started his own press. He started the Antholozine series, you know, he just has an idea and he runs with it. And these aren't like small ideas. Like he didn't have an idea for one volume of Soulscream. He's like, I'm going to do as many as it takes to get all these voices in. Like it's a long-term commitment, but he makes it without being afraid of it.
That is an amazing characteristic to have. That follow through.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Christopher, it's your turn.
Rebecca's ability to be not only a self-starter, but she's really fast out of the gate. You know, when I'm reading some of her social media and she's talking about, so I'm trying this story. It's about I don't know, killer bananas or whatever, you know, and like the next couple hours later, you have all right, 2,000 words in, or this thing is getting out of control, and you love that she's going with it, and she doesn't take herself so seriously that this is coming from on high. She knows craft, and she understands that craft takes work, and there's always a sense that she's having, even if it's like, oh my God, what a day! It's a terrible day. There's still a sense of fun and love, maybe love more than fun some days. But that's what'll get you through more than almost anything else. It's about the love, you know? And I think that's the thing that made me notice her commentary and then want to follow and then want to comment back and create some kind of interaction because of that positivity and that life, you know. Rebecca is full of life, and that is something to behold.
Amazing.
And she paid me $20. So there you go.
I saw her pour her phone out as soon as it fell.
She's just gotta go like that. Yeah.
You had a script in you, Christopher, before this, didn't you?
No.
Question. Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's always good, but I mean, it's always good to have that good team, someone to bounce off your yin to your yang, you know, and that's what's amazing about the indie art.
I don't, like you said, don't give away too much of the book, but I think that you have to think of your editor or your author, right? Whichever way you're coming at the relationship, like you have to think about that as a partnership, you know, that you're creating something together. You can't say whether you're the editor or the publisher or the author, like, this is mine and no one can touch it, you know, and I get to make all the decisions. It's like you have to recognize that this is something that everyone is going to contribute to, and that the other people are going to do nothing but improve it, you know?
Right.
So, and there is in that like recognition that you're not perfect. So like you were saying earlier about like writers who think they're perfect, they're not going to make it far, because imagine working with that author as an editor. It would be a nightmare, you know? I know editors who told me that they like broke up with authors for being too difficult to work with. And that's like, that makes no one feel good about a project, you know, to have that kind of relationship, like whether you're the editor or the author. And I can't give away the name yet, but I'm really excited. I'm going to be working with an author through Psychotoxin Pink, and I am thrilled to work with her. Like I'm like, this is my new best friend. I'm so excited, you know. And I just think you have to be happy about it. Like you have to kind of come to those meetings, whether those are like virtual meetings or on the phone or even just like email conversations. Like you have to be happy to be talking to the other person. And if you're not, like the product is going to suffer for it, you know?
It does. I mean, 1% does. I mean, and it's all about building relationships. I mean, any successful business, whatever, is you got to have that key core of, you know, partners. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
I was lucky because Chris was my buddy before we did this book together, so it's particularly easy to work with him, you know. But I think even a new relationship, like you have to go into it with like a spirit of teamwork.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to even say compromise, because compromise makes it seem like people are losing something, and really you're gaining something, you know. Like it is collaboration.
Yeah,
not compromise.
That's a better word. Yeah, collaboration.
But so, do you think that some of the individuals who do the self-publishing, do you think, and they want to do everything themselves? They want to do the editing themselves. They want to, everything themselves. Do you think that they're missing out?
100 billion, million, trillion, gazillion %. They're missing out. They're totally missing out. And I know that cost is a barrier to some people, because if you are someone who self-publishes, you're paying for your cover art, you're paying for your editing, right? But there are people out there who are super affordable. And also, don't discount bartering. Recently, I needed some artwork done from a real artist, like someone who really knew what they were doing. And I traded them artwork for website proofreading.
Nice.
And so, that was something that they would have had to pay however many hundred for. This art would have been something that I had to pay 100 plus for. So I think that there are ways to do this stuff, even if you don't have a lot of money to like hire top tier sort of like contractors. But I think that Chris and I were going back and forth. Like I sent Chris chapters, and then I would say, Chris, how did I even write this as a sentence? This isn't even a sentence, but I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Like you can't see it when you're writing it. So you need someone else to contribute their thoughts.
And I will tell you, Travis, that she even did that late in the game, very late in the game. We were almost locking the book, and there were 2 or 3 sentences that she said, I apologize, but that has to change. And understand that when I read it, no red flags went up. But when she substituted the sentence she preferred, it was better. So, I'm going to give you a caveat in a second, but always go with better, right? Best idea wins, best sentence wins. But we did agree at a certain point to say, okay, this is the last round, because the other thing you need to remember is that you can rewrite and re-edit yourself into the grave, and
looking for perfection.
Yeah.
And
you end up losing something sometimes, like you overwork it.
Yeah.
Like dough.
Done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Right. But sloppy done isn't good for anybody.
No.
And you were talking about the independent publishers who do everything themselves. I do a lot of stuff myself, but I contract out for art because I'm not the level that I want to be as a visual artist. And I get numerous eyes on the work because, the biggest bane of writers is, reading it and reading what you believe should be there, not what's actually there.
What you meant.
Yes.
Yeah. And you put it in, right?
Yes.
I always tell my writing students, read it out loud like you were getting paid a hell of a lot of money to do so. Because, if you tell them read it out loud, they go, Marley was dead. You need that. And that's not reading it aloud. Like you're getting paid 10 grand, then you're going to emote. And then you're going to trip over all the things you need to trip over.
Exactly.
And then you can fix. And it's a hell of a lot easier to do that after other eyes have seen it and said, who's Larry?
Yes.
What do you mean, Larry? I had Larry in an earlier draft. Well, he's still here on page 83. Yep. Oh, I didn't change that name. You're not going to catch that yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to get to me, the reader, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, who the fuck is Larry? Like, what is this? And then,
Larry?
And then I'm gonna close the book and throw it in the trash because I'm like, I don't know what the hell this book is about.
Yeah, right.
That's extra funny to me because my dad's name is Larry, and that's my oldest brother too. So we had Larry Sr. and Larry Jr. So
there you go.
We did have some Larry confusion.
Well, Travis, at least now we know who Larry was.
Yes.
Exactly, right? But as a reader, I've read many, and we were on a podcast. Back, I was telling the story. I've read many of self-published books that I've got
Mhm.
sent or so, and I'm like, it's like incoherent. I don't know what they're talking about. There's grammatical errors. I think the same thing happened where there was a character in the story, and then they took it out, and they forgot they took it out, and now I'm reading, and I'm like, what? When did that happen? Like, huh? Like, and it's a mess. It's
But getting,
unreadable at that point.
yeah,
It's,
getting
it
beta
sometimes is
readers or
unreadable.
proofreaders will find those for you.
Yep. And so, and also, like we talk about
Price of
writing
readers.
groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's bartering too, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we don't call it that, right? But we're sharing work, we're reading things for each other, and so, and again, that doesn't cost anything. That's just friends being friends.
It is. It's all about
And
networking.
and letting what comes back on your writing seep in and simmer for a couple of days.
Mhm.
I recently got a comment from one of the people in the writing group I'm in, and he said, "Well, if you're using this kind of structure, this character has to do this by this time." And I was like, and then 3 days later, I'm like, "That's intriguing." And then 6 days later, I'm like, if I restructure this, and that, letting that seep in, it may not be the lightning, but letting it seep in is, and knowing whether or not it's something you can use. The what if, being open enough to what if, especially when you're in the early stages, it's key. This entire book came from what if, by the way. We were going back and forth. What if we do this? What do we do? I think we need to. Let's expand this chapter. Yeah. That's how it
So
goes.
a lot of times one chapter would become two, because we would realize that we kind of started in one place, but we ended up going to two different places, but they were both important. So we just decided, oh, let's do another chapter. And by the way, I think I should mention, we had a lot of goals with the book. One of them was to be helpful, right? And of course, to be friendly, and to, help people find their own way into doing this thing, but another one is that we just wanted the whole book to be really approachable, because those big fat craft books can be intimidating.
Yeah.
People don't break them open. So Chris and I were like, what if we did a book where each chapter was like, what, 3 to 5 pages?
Yeah, the longest one's about 4.5 pages. Yeah.
And so it's like, we wanted something where you can read a chapter on your lunch break. If
Right.
you take a bus to work, you can read a chapter on the way to work, and then you can be thinking about that thing for the day or whatever.
Right.
We didn't want it to be intimidating in size or in tone.
Yeah, it's somewhere between 102 104 pages.
And also, too, the cover art too is not intimidating. It's a skeleton. I mean, it looks silly. It looks fun. It looks, it looks,
Silly skeleton.
Travis, would you like to meet the artist, the cover artist,
sure.
Rebecca?
Really?
Yes.
Uh,
She had a friend help finish it, but it's 90%. Well, I don't know what percentage, but it's Rebecca put them.
Half. I'm going to claim half credit. The real artist is Jensen Sikora. And so I was like, hey, what do you think? And they were like, send me that file. And I think that artists are so important because they know what you meant to do, but
Right.
couldn't quite pull off. Like Chris and I really loved this like old timey, like silver film kind of look, made it reminded both of us of that old cartoon from Disney from the 1920s. It's, what is it called, Chris? Like Dance of the Skeletons or Dance of the
something
Dead.
like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Look it up if you haven't seen it. But that skeleton kind of in that like dancing pose, it reminded me of that. And so then I looked for that kind of like corroded film like background and I couldn't quite get it. And everything was a bit flat. And then Jensen takes it and just like gives it back, and all of a sudden it's got like depth and life and all this stuff. So
And to go back to what you said about it, Travis, was that skeleton, it has a charm, a silliness, an approachability that really matches the come on in of this book.
It's approachable. It's not something serious looking and big text.
Man,
it's fun.
We definitely wanted to roll out the welcome mat rather than, do you deserve to be in this book? No, we weren't into that at all.
But we had to say it was still horror, so we had to find this good medium, right? It's like skeleton says horror, but he's a silly, happy skeleton. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, was it Sabata? Rebecca's got like 10, we got like 10 blurbs because Rebecca is Rebecca and just goes out there and knocks on doors and all that sort of stuff. But I think it was Jason Sabata. Is that his
James
name?
Sabata.
James Sabata. I think he's the one who said not just horror writers will benefit from this book, because there's it's from that perspective because that's Rebecca's experience, but it's foundational. All these steps are foundational, that anybody can benefit from it. Like I said, as you see, I've been at this a while, right? And there's a bunch of really fun stuff that I was like, that's the idea. That's what I was looking for. That's how and that's why I'm thrilled to talk about it. So.
Also, what was so cool about the blurbs, and it's just people being super nice. But a lot of the people in their blurbs were like, I'm really glad I read this book, like this helped me, so it's exciting. It's exciting that, like it's already working, like what we intended to happen is already happening. And that's really exciting.
Asking for blurbs are difficult, and that's covered in this book. That going out there and don't, go after the reviews, I think is one of the chapters. And, don't, there's even, she at one point, she has a script for how to go and meet the writers you want to meet. And it's just so simple, but wonderful. And it will be really hard to read that and then still be intimidated next time you see somebody, say at a convention or whatever. And, not be able to get over that hump, and most of them are really fun and approachable, biggest names, and still they're human beings, so yeah,
it's amazing. So this book, I think it's going to do wonders because it's a lot, as you've seen my interviews, I interview a lot of horror first-time horror authors, and some of them are, I don't want to say lost, but they don't know what the next step is.
Yeah,
and
there are gaps in the education.
Correct. Yeah. And I think this book, when Rebecca sent me, when we first scheduled it, the interview, when she sent me over, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good. This is good because I talk about marketing all the time on my channel, and this hits the nail right on the head.
I knew she would. So,
yes. So
thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna start with Rebecca. Rebecca, where can everyone find you?
Okay, so I am on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter though, not as much anymore because unfortunately, a lot of folks have left, so it's not quite the hub it was. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Threads. I just joined Threads. I'm trying to do the Threads thing.
Nice.
I'm also on Discord. I'm on LinkedIn, but I never go to LinkedIn, so don't message me there. I will never see it.
I don't quite understand LinkedIn. Yeah.
Me either.
And I also have a website, RebeccaCuthbert.com, so you can find news and publications and other stuff there.
Sweet. And Chris?
There are so many Chris Ryans that you can find me on social media with at this Chris Ryan. That's this one over here. That's the one you're looking for.
Okay.
When I first started putting books out, I would always get confused with the Christopher Ryan who is, I think he's a archaeologist or something like that, and he wrote Sex at Dawn, and they would just link my books, and then no, I did not. I did not write sex, about caveman sex. I didn't write about that at all. No. Yeah,
You sure, Chris?
maybe I should. Pro Magnon horror story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this Chris Ryan is what you can find, and then Christopher Ryan author and that kind of stuff on Facebook. But that's where I am for most. X, Insta, Threads, TikTok. My TikTok game is a little weak, but I'm working on it. Yeah. YouTube, I have a channel, but I also do a YouTube show with the legendary Alex Simmons, creator of Blackjack, called Tell the Damn Story. And we're coming in on our 300th episode. So
Nice.
that's again, like you, it's about writing and you do the marketing, but it's what we stumble across or stumble through, so that hopefully it's a smoother path for others.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And I'll have your YouTube channel down in the description, so everybody click on that and also subscribe to his channel as well. That's
There
always
you
helps.
go. Yeah. I hope now that I saw you interview Rebecca, maybe she'll come on to tell the damn story.Ll see. I don't know if I have the same.
You'll
sway
have
as
to talk
Travis
to my
Bruce here.
publisher.
Well, I think Christopher, other Christopher, Psychotoxin, didn't he hook us up? Or
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that's how we.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
We
watched
were on
your
a
interview
podcast
with
together,
him.
and that's how. Yeah.
I watched your interview with him, and I was like, a link. There we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I do a lot of Psychotoxin interviews because those guys were up. So.
Very cool.
I have a lot of Chris's in my life now, so I'm always like, Chris, go with.
So when you
I'm this
I
Chris
was like,
Ryan.
ooh, Psychotoxin Chris?
Listen, Yunzio, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, everybody, grab their book, please.
Creep This Way, which
Read this way.
we totally know about the Aerosmith connection,
Yes.
and we are for it. So if you hear the title and then you hear that song start playing in your head,
That's okay
Yeah.
with us.
just let it play. Go with it.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. You guys are welcome more to promote anything on my channel. Just let me know.
Oh, that's very cool. And thank you for having us.
No problem. I think Rebecca, I'll be seeing you in.
Yes, you'll see
April or
me sometime
somewhere.
because I got a lot of stuff cooking. So
Yeah.
I'll be calling you.
But I think we'll be at a book festival or something soon.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna see Travis at AuthorCon. AuthorCon 3 in Virginia. So if anybody's there, come say hi.
Cool.
I'll
I
be
was at
welcome.
AuthorCon too. You're gonna have a great time.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. It's my first time going.
I have promised to bake cookies, but it's while supplies last, so I can't promise. you
Okay.
get any.
Do you have a table there, Rebecca?
Nope. I just like
Just
to
walking
bake.
around with cookies, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I'll be walking around with a camera, so.
There you go.
All right. I'll find you. I'll save
Yes.
you a cookie.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Cool.
All right.